You've just entered the deep end. Yes, welcome back to the deep end. The Brandons Discuss Anime supplemental production.
Supplemental?
Yeah, because this is in accordance with the main podcast.
I mean, wouldn't it just be a side dish then, and rather not... Like supplement to me sounds like it's going to be something that's like as a replacement for almost, right? It's why you take supplemental vitamins. You're not eating the food that gives you those vitamins. You're taking the supplement instead.
Okay, let's go to your food reference. This is the side dish to the entree that is Brandon's Discuss Anime.
If we were doing supplement, this would be so much more appropriate.
Yes, this week was Made in Abyss, which this is actually recorded first, so we may bring some stuff that we talked about in the main podcast.
Stuff overlaps either way.
And oh my god, it did win Crunchyroll's Best Anime of 2017 for a reason. It was amazing.
So, I watched this before you did, so I need to ask, first of all, how did you feel watching it?
All emotions. I loved it. There was good points, like a lot of good points. There was like some sad points, but like nothing really horrible in my opinion.
Oh, the part where she's like knocked out, completely poisoned, and Reg has to literally cut her arm off.
Oh, okay, there were some really horrible parts in it. But like, yeah, it was good.
I'm not gonna lie when I say, and this is probably terrible, but it was just the visuals of it. Like during that moment when we found out that she had been poisoned, and we see that her arm has swelled up to be literally larger than her body.
Yeah.
Like the width of her hand is larger than her stomach. Like I started laughing out loud just because of the fact it was such a ridiculous size difference.
Yeah, but...
And then we got into the hard parts where I'm like, no.
Yeah, and Mitty, like that, like, I don't want to say mutant, but kind of.
They call them hollows.
Okay, hollows.
Yeah, people that have lost their humanity, when they ascend from the 6th layer of the abyss.
And not to be, quote, this guy, but Mitty just seemed like something you would encounter in an RPG. I mean, know that's horrible.
It depends on the RPG, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, like something like Dragon's Quest or possibly Final Fantasy.
Dragon's Quest is far nicer than that. Like, their version of a slime is literally just a teardrop with, like, googly eyes.
Yeah. And there's, like, the hand monsters, like Muddy Hand and Bloody Hand, I believe.
Hand monsters?
Yeah, there is a like, red hand and a brown hand.
I don't remember those. Oh, wait, are you talking from, like, Dragon Quest?
Yeah, Dragon Quest.
Okay, that's why. All right. I was thinking you were referencing Made in Abyss. Like, I don't remember those at all.
Dude, we were just talking about this smiling slime.
Yeah, we were referencing both, though. I didn't realize you were jumping onto the Dragon Quest.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, no, like, what are those called? Like, Wall Masters or something like that? Or at least that's what they are in Zelda.
Yeah,
I don't know
Bloody Hand and Muddy Hand.
And then, of course, we have Master Hand, and I forget what the other one is.
Crazy Hand.
That's it, in Smash Bros, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, getting back on point for the anime itself, holy crap.
Yep, we're getting sidetracked. What else is new?
Shocking, I know, right?
Yes.
But, no, this series, I love this series, and I'm kind of upset that it took me this long to get to it.
Yeah, same.
It starts off so good, right? it starts off so nice and innocent, and then it just descends, just like the climbers,
Yes.
into an abyss of just dread. Which is kind of a good way to look at the art style, too, because you have all, like, the human characters looking cutesy and stuff, right? And then you have the abyss, which is just straight up, like, far more realistic and with monstrous creatures in there.
Yeah. But one thing was, from a little girl type of character, I would say Rico is drawn so adorably.
I mean, there's a reason they call them, like, Moe Bloods, because they all kind of have the same features in the end. And this is coming from more of an art perspective, but yeah, like, when you start, like, taking away the clothing, right, they all pretty much have the same look to them. The eyes have a slight difference, maybe the mouth is slightly tweaked, possibly even the ears a little bit, and obviously, like, you pull away the hair, there's not much of a change.
Yeah.
And the other interesting part, especially with this style, is that between male and female characters, there's not that much. Granted, these are like 12-year-olds, so there's not going to be much of a body difference.
And speaking about that, Marulk, if I'm pronouncing that right, the main...
Marulk.
What?
M-A-R-U-L-K. Marulk.
Marulk.
Yes.
Did you know that was a boy?
Yes, that's the way it was interpreted to me.
Okay, I thought he was female because of the way he dressed, but actually, Ozin makes him dress like that.
I didn't realize he was made to dress like that, but I assumed it was whatever he preferred in this case. But that could be wrong. I don't remember it being explicitly said.
I think it's more in the manga it's stated.
It might be.
Yeah, I'm just read blurbs about characters just so I could know a little bit more about what I'm talking about.
But, yeah, no, he's an interesting character. Like, I didn't realize that he was forced to wear that by Ozan. That's never explicitly stated as far as I'm aware in the anime. Granted, I could completely be wrong and just be forgetting that part of it, but, it's quite interesting in that, what was his reason that he couldn't go up? It's because of his eyes, right? If I remember right?
I believe, yes, an extreme sensitivity to sunlight.
That's what I thought. He'd basically be blind on the surface.
And his skin too.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah, that would be right. If anyone, and this is me looking at, like, actual biology and logic and how this works, but yeah, if somebody that would be within a cave system for a long time would have extreme light sensitivity, both skin and eyes. But, I know that Marulk, if I recall correctly, was born with those eyes being that bad. I don't know about his skin that way, but.
And just at the pace the anime was going, I don't know how long the manga will be unless there's something that they need to go back up and then continue descending.
Here's the thing. I don't think they can.
Oh.
Like, you remember the curse. I don't see them getting back up. Ever.
Then they're already at the 4th layer now. And there's...
Well, here's the thing, right? The point where Made in Abyss leaves off in the anime is only 20 chapters into the manga. The manga's already more than double that at this point.
So, unless something prevents them from going down further...
Well, we already know, right? And obviously we're in spoiler territory here, which that's kind of the point of this.
Yep.
You're gonna have a big conflict with Nanachi and Niddy's original master, quote unquote, the White Whistle, Bondrude. There's going to be a big conflict with that.
And I find it interesting that, like, all the White Whistles look different, but his seems like some bony hands.
I like the one guy. I don't remember what his whistle looks like, but I remember the one guy's got like a plague doctor's mask that looks neat.
On the whistle?
No. He wears a plague doctor's mask.
Okay.
I don't remember what his whistle looks like though.
Yeah, because Liza's White Whistle looked different than Ozan's and
Bondrude's. Yeah, Ozen's looked almost like it was a demon skull, I would say, or something between a human and a bull, some kind of cross like that.
And I would say that's because she was, like, relentless?
I mean, she has superhuman strength.
Yeah.
And, what was the other thing that I wanted to mention? I like Ozen. She's like my second favorite character in the entire thing. I love the fact, like, she's so creepy.
I was thinking she was going to be, like, a arc villain at some point.
I didn't think she was going to be an arc villain only because I had an idea of where, like, how, not how much was left, but I had an idea of where they were going to be. I knew the series didn't end with Ozen.
Okay.
I knew they were going further than that before the series was ending, or the season, I should say.
But then again, if you say the manga is more than double, and they do spend some time on Layer 5, then will this even hit 100 chapters?
That's up to... Well, here's the other thing, right? We don't know how deep the Abyss is. All that's been explored, as far as we're aware, is 7 layers. And even then, right, it's unknown because you're said to lose your sanity once you hit past 6. So whether or not there's actually anything past that, it's only rumor. It's not fact. Nobody knows.
Was Dante's Inferno the 9 circles of hell, or was that 7?
7, I believe.
Okay, because I heard there's references to Dante's Inferno in Made in the Abyss.
It's been a long time since I've actually read that book or story. I don't know which one it would be considered. It's been a long time since I've read that, like years, so I couldn't tell you for certain.
And this is what I was just going by. From, like, stuff I read, like, a day or two after Made in the Abyss.
Like, obviously there could be references to it. I wouldn't put it past the series to do that. You're going to be pulling those inspirations from other places. Whether or not it directly, follows that idea, who knows, until it's complete. Or at least until one of us reads through the manga, which, after this shit, I'm doing that. I'm reading through, because I want to know where this goes. It's gonna be One Punch Man all over again for me.
Yes. And then when we finally get around to doing the podcast, you'll bring up stuff from season 2 and we'll be like, that didn't happen yet.
No, I don't think I'll do it this time. A, because this will be, more recent in my brain. And B, I have a pretty clear cutoff point for this one, with Nanachi first, joining along with the others. Here's a neat little fact, too. So, Nat, the guy that was on the surface that seems to have like a crush on Rico, that character, he's got the same voice actress as Izzy from Digimon.
Really?
Yeah, the same one. I was listening to him like, that sounds so familiar. Wait, is that Izzy? And I had to stop the video, go look it up. Oh my god, it's Izzy. Holy shit.
So in Try, is it still voiced by a female?
Yes. In Try, the same voice actors are doing the same characters.
Well, that's good, but... Well, then again, Minako Nozawa is doing Goku, and Goku's like a full-grown man, so...
He does Goku, Goten, and Gohan.
And Burdock and Goku's... Well, Burdock is Goku's father.
It's like Boruto's dad's son.
Yes. Wait, are they voiced by the same person?
No, I'm making a reference.
Oh.
Because the title of the series is called Boruto, and so instead of actually calling the character Boruto, you say, no, it's Boruto's dad's son. It's like a 3-way backwards way of talking about it. So here's one of the other things, right? So I'm just going to run through notes at this point. It's like...
And just one thing that I was thinking of, until Ozen started, really beating up Reg, I thought he was more of a cyborg than a full-on robot.
That's the thing. I'm not really sure how much of him is human, or if he's completely a synthetic robot.
Yes, because he does have, nipples, belly button, butt, and, boy parts.
He has a penis, yes.
Yes. Penis, okay. We can say that word. We're all adults here.
I mean, speak for yourself. I just say it because I'm an 8-year-old at heart.
Oh. And just bouncing to what we were discussing earlier, Aquitaine, did you see the episode where Meatwad swallowed the computer chip?
Nope,
Oh,
not yet.
okay, because there's one funny line about Meatwad goes, it's like the Thunderdome, like, things go in, but they never come out. And Farlock goes, you mean you don't, Meatwad, you don't, Farlock, we're all adults here, you can say it. Meatwad, you don't poop? You said poop!
I mean, that's a ridiculous tangent that had nothing to do with anything, but okay.
Well, saying the words because we're adults. Okay.
Whatever.
Okay, tangent over.
One of the questions I have, right, is like, so when Reg uses his incinerator, right, his like mega buster from his hand,
Mega Buster.
he passes, it takes 10 minutes for whatever, I assume he's like put so much energy into it at once, right, that it causes him to pass out.
Yeah,
And
Ozen said
quote unquote,
within 10 minutes.
Yeah, well, yeah, he passes out within 10 minutes, and it's like a recharge state, I guess. And then it takes him 2 hours to recover. So my question is, I'm confused in that, like, would he ever be able to use more than one? And if he would lose an arm, let's say, would the other one be able to have that as well? Because I think we've only seen him use it on the one hand, on the right, I believe.
Yeah, wait. No, his left hand, I thought it was.
Whichever. I think we've only ever seen him use it on a single side. So I'd be curious if he has one on the other one, or if perhaps he's got something different there that he doesn't know about yet. All right, so moving on from my unknowns about Reg here, I'm more curious. Not curious. No, I like the way the school was designed. How they have like the desks built into the wall.
Oh, that was good.
That's like a little interesting thing. It's like it makes me wonder if it's like in part a way to save space, just because of how clustered the town seems to be, or, and this could be both actually, whether it's like a small bit of training to be able to climb up those ladders and get to their desks, since they are in what's essentially a pit.
Okay. That's a way of thinking of it.
Yeah, because not all of them that are in there can go into the abyss right away. Some of them have the bells, which means they're just, learning, rather than the whistles, which means they're allowed to go in. Also, how old do you think Ozen is?
You mean like tall?
No, old, age. What is her age?
I thought you said how long is she, and I'm like, wait,
how old?
Oh. Okay. She seemed the same when Liza was a kid.
She looked exactly the same. Granted, here's the other thing. Now, I don't know if that's much of an indicator, because she does say that her vitality, so what I'm assuming that means to be her youth, has that artifact that's grafted into her skin. I assume that's both part of the reason why she has her strength and why she looks young yet.
Maybe 90, 100-ish?
I'm leaning toward 70, so I'm kind of being on the generous end in this.
Okay.
Just because, I assume that Liza probably had the kid at around her 20s, mid-20s.
Yeah. But then again, Ozen still had gray hair, and I know, that's maybe just her character design.
I think it might have been referenced as part of the Abyss, I want to say.
Okay.
Like something having to do with the Abyss. I want to say she referenced it to that at one point. I could be wrong. Besides, it's black and white. It's not just straight gray, so that's my other reasoning for thinking it's not age that's doing that.
I thought it was more black and gray.
I didn't think gray. I thought white.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm leaning toward more generous on the 70 age, so I'm assuming that she trained Liza for I'm going to say 15 years. I'm going to say she came in at 10, maybe 12.
Yeah, because...
Right around the age Rico is.
And not to jump off again, but I kind of thought teenage Liza or young adult Liza looked so much like Yang from Ruby.
She has the hair, I'll give it that.
Yeah.
Could be the long blonde hair.
Yeah.
That's slightly wavy. So, here's where we're going to start getting into the difficult, not the difficulty, yeah. This is where we're going to start getting into the actual discussion.
Yeah, the deep portion.
So, and this one's just a big, wide-ranging question, but what is the abyss, right?
I'm guessing it's an artifact of a world gone by, and something happened that caused, like, humans to, now I'm just remembering, there's parts of the world that aren't around the abyss.
Mm-hmm.
What? That's a good question. What is the abyss?
What is it? Why is it there? It looks like something impacted the Earth. It looks like a crater. And whatever impacted it ended up going straight down after making the impact. That's what it looks like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just from a shot from above. But when you look at the map, that, I forget what the smart kid's name is. I'm blanking on it. Alright, so here's the other thing. When you look at the map for that kid, what that kid gets, I'm forgetting his name, but the map of the abyss that he takes, and you look at it from a side perspective, right? Doesn't it kind of start resembling a mouth? Like you have the crater section.
Maybe?
Pull up map of the abyss on Google, right? Look at that, and does it kind of resemble a mouth? Like all the buildings kind of being like bunches of teeth, and then just like the rest of it, you're just going down its throat.
Maybe? Yeah, kind of.
So, and this is just one that I'm throwing out there as just like a crazy idea, right? What if for whatever reason the abyss is actually some kind of like creature? And the people that are going down into it are just more food for it.
So
the curse has to do with its own body stuff, like its own biology.
Huh.
And because maybe those ancient peoples that seem to like have lived here before, like the cave raiders came in and all that, maybe they knew about it and regarded it as a god.
Oh.
Now again, this is just a completely off the wall thing that has complete and utter speculation thrown at it with nothing solid to back it up. It'd just be an interesting idea. But I'm not 100% sure though of what the abyss would actually be, like what I actually think it is.
So you think it's sentient?
I think that's an off the wall idea that's just bouncing around in my head. It's not what I actually believe. It's just a crazy idea that occurred to me at one point.
So it could be like some giant space monster, like Cthulhu, that like smashed into the earth.
It could be an eldritch deity. That's an option. But the thing is, we don't know if there's anything else strange like that, right?
Yeah.
Out in the world. Hell, here's something. And this I asked you to like think about as you were watching it. What time period is this?
I would say, due to the town that's around them, which I'm completely blanking on the name of the town.
Orth.
Thank you. I would say maybe early 1900s-ish.
Okay.
Since they don't really seem to have much in the way of modern technology that we see.
Mm-hmm. We don't see telephones. We don't see... Well, then again, they have electricity, though.
We had electricity in the 1900s.
Early 1900s, did we?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
When did the electric chair become a thing?
When did the electric chair become a thing? 1890.
1890. Okay, so that's farther back than I would have expected. Okay, so early 1900s, I could see that. But you also don't see much in the way of firearms either.
Right.
Like, they know the gunpowder exists. They mention it when they pick up the Blaze Ripper, or is it the Blaze Reaper?
Reaper, I think.
Okay, so when they get Liza's old weapon, I'll just say that for now. When they get that, they know that gunpowder exists, because they say it has everlasting gunpowder. But yet we never see any weapons like that, like actual firearms in the town. They also don't use I don't even know, actually. I don't know what their elevators run on. It could be electricity. It could just be pulleys and wires and weights.
Yeah.
It's not really clear. Plus, they have the headlamps, too, but that could just be like a globe thing that happens in the dark. I'm not 100% sure, because they never show, I don't remember seeing battery packs on those helmets. So I'm just curious what kind of time period this would be. Here's one of the other things that's got me curious. So, moving on from that, right? And here's something that's got me very confused. Why aren't the relics that the White Whistles are armed with made public?
Like what kind of relic? Like the squishy eggs that Rico kept finding?
No, those are documented. The ones that the White Whistles themselves hold. The one that, for instance, the one that Ozen had grafted into her that gave her super strength and all that, right?
Oh. Okay.
Nobody knows about that except for probably other White Whistles and Ozen herself. Or anyone that might be close to Ozen. But it's not documented anywhere on the surface.
Maybe the White Whistles are just being dicks?
Maybe, but why? Right? What would make them keep that stuff a secret?
Because they
Or
have...
unless, no. The way it's actually said is that the government knows what it is, or whatever runs the town knows what it is. They just don't make it public to people. They don't publish what they have. That's the point that's getting me confused here as to why that would be.
Maybe they're super powerful relics that might tell more about the Abyss than the White Whistles want. Because the White Whistles are like the gods of the Abyss. They've been down, they've been up, they've been all around the Abyss. So they are highly respected. So maybe they're exploiting their power in getting, grade 1? The higher the number, the better the relic, right?
Yes.
So maybe, this is grade 1, or maybe even grade 0 level relics that are too powerful for the public to know about.
Well, when I say higher grade, I mean 5 would be higher than a 4th grade relic.
I'm sorry.
Actual counting up.
Okay. Yeah,
but yes,
so maybe
I get
this is level 10 grade relics.
Here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I'm thinking what it is. They're relics that go against the laws of nature. Look at the what's it called? Look at the relic that brought Rico up from the Abyss when she was born.
Oh, like that cube.
Like the cube.
Mm.
They first thought it was a curse-repelling vessel, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually the case.
Yeah, it's a, revitalizing resurrection box.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's something that forcibly bonds the soul to a body.
Oh.
Because I'm assuming when Ozen says she put meat in it to test it again, it was actually the carcass of something. It wasn't actually just a steak that she was going to eat. I think she threw a carcass into it. And that's why we saw a half-broken body wandering around in the safe space.
So Rico is a artificial human, homunculus kind of thing, to reference a few weeks ago.
I don't think that's the case. Because Rico was stillborn, right? The body was fine. The soul didn't seem to be there.
Oh, so she's soulless now?
It depends on what the relic actually does, right? Because if I'm right and it bonds a soul to a body, and if I'm going to assume that Rico's soul either wasn't there or was just kind of dangling there, barely connected, it either reestablished that bond or established the bond with a soul that was in the Abyss.
Oh.
It's, kind of like the religion says, things that come from the Abyss are then returned to the Abyss. If a soul if that is the case and souls are also something that return to the abyss, as the religion seems to believe, perhaps one of the souls of a dying child or a soul of someone that had passed away could have been imbued into Rico's body.
Interesting thought.
It's one of the, it's a weird thing, because I want to say it's something that either is either too powerful, like you say, and or goes against the laws of nature. Because we haven't, if I'm right in the way that Ozen's other one works, the one that's grafted onto her body, she's living a far longer life than any human should, which could also be seen as like sacrilege or, anything that would be against religion or against normal nature. And I can't confirm any of this until we see another White Whistle, which season 2 is probably going to do, or the minute I get into the manga. But it's one of those things that's just makes me wonder about what it is that these relics are. And that's the other thing, right? If this is the 1900s, right? And I'm assuming that it's around that as well at this point, just because of the fact that we don't have plentiful hyper technology like current stuff, like computers and stuff. Would a robot like Reg be considered like that?
Maybe.
Like, would he be considered against nature?
But then again, Reg...
He's artificial light.
Yeah, but Reg's excuse why he has metal... I know he explained away his metal limbs, so...
He explained it away as an accident that had happened and just woke up with his arms in this... No, he explained it away as foreign technology. That's what he said.
Okay, so foreign technology, so maybe...
But keep in mind, that's just as like the idea of artificial limbs. That's not explaining away extendo arms and his incinerator.
But maybe Earth is a little bit backwater compared to the rest of the world, and maybe they have more technology in towns that are not Earth?
It could be, because Earth isn't that big, but people want to know what's at the bottom of the abyss. People pay for these relics, and that's even if you put them out and ship them out to other foreign nations.
Okay, but using the words...
It's not like it's where people don't show up.
But using the words foreign technology about robotic limbs.
Yeah.
So it may...
Yeah, well, that would also depend on where Earth is actually located, too, because we don't have, geographic coordinates.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it could just be off the coast of Japan, right? And by foreign technology, it could be like, oh, it's from America. Like, I don't know. It's, again, one of those things where we don't have enough information about the world outside of Earth to really draw solid conclusions.
And we'll never know.
Probably not, honestly. Granted, actually, we might, now that I'm thinking about it. Because, remember the kid, Kiwi? The little kid who got real sick?
Yeah.
The minute he left Earth and was out on the water away from the abyss, he got better perfectly well, right? Wouldn't there be a chance that he would then be brought away to another country and be studied to kind of figure out what was going on? Maybe?
Maybe.
Again, we probably wouldn't, focus on him for a long time, but it might give us some references to the outside world through him. If he goes on something like that. Which would honestly be even more interesting, because then we get to see what the actual world itself is like outside.
And the second layer, that was the Forest of Temptation, right? Or something.
That's the first layer. The second layer is the inverted forest, the upside down one.
Oh, then there was something of temptation.
Yeah, first layer, Forest of Temptation.
Okay. I guess
keep in mind that's not the entire level, that's just a section of it.
Okay, so I guess it's tempting you to come in to the abyss.
That's kind of the idea. I think they say it multiple times in the beginning where it's there's a temptation in the air that keeps drawing you toward this place. It just gets stronger once you get layer 1.
I think they may be another Dante's Inferno reference. Maybe.
It could be. So, here's the other thing then. Another thing to bring up on my questions list here is so we got to see what happens when Reg puts on his helmet, right? We can see that rune or whatever light up in that purple section.
Okay, that was
That
one
lens.
of my questions. Was it changing at all?
That's what I wanted to know. That was another one I had. Does it change? Because I was like, is that the same shape that it was on the first time we saw it?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it means. I'm curious if he puts the helmet on differently, does it change the incinerator or something? Because he always puts it on the same way. Like, if he shifts the helmet to, like, another side or wears it backwards, does it change the incinerator or give him something different, maybe?
Yo, with the backwards helmet, what up?
Don't do that ever again. My other thought was, like, maybe it's some kind of lens that he can use as, like, a zoom device, almost like a telescope or something.
Like the glowy lens.
Yeah, but he never pulls it down over his head to try, so I don't even know if it goes through to the other side, you know. Whether that's just metal blocking off the lens or if the lens goes all the way through. Here's another big one, too, that we can also... This is probably also one that you have, which is, if the note's not from Rico's mother, who the fuck wrote it? Now, there is an idea, potentially, right? It could have been Reg. Reg could have wrote it. Before he met up with Rico and lost his memory.
Because there were scenes of him in the past with Liza.
Mm-hmm. And I assume at that point he still had his memories. That's also another good question. When does Reg lose his memories? Because I have a feeling it's when Rico tries to use the electric chair to shock him back awake. If that's the case, he could very well have written that note. Because if he is from the Abyss, he might know those nether glyphs that are used.
Okay, maybe it was written for Liza.
How would it be written for Liza?
Because Liza left for higher levels because she's a white whistle, she knows some secret to the Abyss or something like that, while Reg goes deeper and he sends up a note, I'm waiting for you at the bottom, because they were friends in the past and he's telling her to come back down. Because maybe they know of a secret at the bottom or how to get to the bottom, and right as Liza was going to go down to the bottom, something happened.
I don't feel like I can't see why she would go back up, right? Like, to go back up would mean death for her. Because I can't think of any other white whistle that's been down at the 7th layer. Again, we don't have enough information on this, but
Yeah.
we saw what happens when you come up from the 6th. There's not much you can really do there. The only thing that seems to be the key is that if you can somehow ascend further away from the center of the pit, of the hole, if you can get away from, like, the center of that and ascend, like, near the walls, the curse is less effective, right?
Yeah.
That's something we did learn at one point. Now the question would be, is there some kind of, like, tunnels leading up on the side somewhere,
Well, then
away from the center, that they could use?
Then again, Nanachi did have a pathway up above to, I think the 2nd layer was her house.
It was on the 4th.
Okay, so her home was still on the 4th.
It did not go up any layers. It went up, like, in terms of the section that the 4th layer is, it went up a little ways from in that area.
Okay.
But it's not going up to another layer or higher.
Oh yeah, because she explained it's kind of like a one-way path with spikes on the other side.
Like, it even affects her, too.
And I just loved how she did all the little art things. And
The little
how she
drawings and
can-
everything.
And how she can cook for crap.
It's like, what? Does it taste bad? What are you talking about? Well, I guess this is all I've ever eaten, so I guess I don't notice it anymore. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, but then again, Reg is worse.
I mean, I don't know. That's only on Nanachi's opinion. I don't know if Reg actually believes his was worse than hers.
But at least Rico can cook.
Oh, of course. One of them has to be able to cook.
Yes.
I mean, Reg's a Actually, that's the other thing. Why does Reg eat? He's a robot. Like, this adds to the whole idea of, is he, at least in some parts, still, human? Or organic, at least?
I'm guessing he may be somewhat organic.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his natural human reaction to seeing Rico in episode 13.
Well, again, memories would be that way too, because, he falls back in relation to whatever else is around him, right?
Mm.
Like, he looks human, therefore he acts human.
Okay.
Whether it be subconsciously or not. Whether or not that actually means anything in the way of how he would act, would he have his memories of who and what he was? Okay. I don't know. Yeah, getting back to the main point, I don't think that Rico's mother would be ascending. I don't see Liza doing that, considering she knows the risks and what would happen.
So
she knew she wasn't coming back when she took that dive.
So Reg did not send that letter to Liza. It was meant for Rico?
I feel like it was meant for Rico, right? I feel like Reg wrote it. However, all the diagrams and stuff are from Liza. That much is guaranteed. Also, wait, no. Here's my question. I don't remember whether or not Ozen saw everything that was in there, right? In the package that Liza sent up. I don't know if she read all that. Because I don't think she ever remembered seeing that message the first time. So if that's the case, how did it slip by? Now, here's my other thought, right? Because if Reg was the one that did this, right, whether he wrote it or not, doesn't really matter, right? Perhaps it was something that she wanted slipped in there just before it reached the surface. Okay. She didn't want anyone else to see it but potentially her daughter.
But wait, if Reg...
Because if Ozen saw that, do you think that Ozen would believe that it was meant for her? Considering how close, Ozen and Liza were?
Maybe. But wait, if Reg wrote the note, I'm waiting for you at the bottom of the abyss, or paraphrasing, why was he up on level 1?
Well, here's my thought about this, is that Liza sent him up to help bring Rico down. Whether or not he remembers that isn't the case, it's still happening either way.
So, he wrote the note to Rico, I'm waiting for you at the bottom of the abyss, yet I'm not.
No, I feel like that's what... Here's my thought, right? Mm-hmm. This is what Liza wanted him to write for her.
Oh.
And he then put it in there after it left the second layer. Like, he caught the balloon, put the note in there, and then let it go the rest of the way up to the first layer.
Okay.
And him finding Rico there was just, a case of luck in this case. Because, I mean, Liza would have no idea what her daughter looks like at this point. It's been 10 years. Like, the only thing she would really know is the color of her eyes and the color of her hair.
Yeah.
She wouldn't know for sure what Rico would look like. And kind of like getting onto this whole idea from here, this is a good jumping off button to the next one, which is, if Ozen was telling the truth about the white whistle, about Liza's white whistle being found at the grave, then who dug the grave? Who left the pick there?
Maybe Reg? Because he does have some kind of residual memories for that grave.
That's what I'm thinking, and that's why I'm kind of thinking that that's why Reg was going up as well. I think this was instructions left by Liza for him to do. Dig the grave, leave the pick, maybe, lead Rico there. Because if he takes it up, people are probably going to take the pick from him if he would take it up to the town.
So you're saying Liza is 100% dead?
I'm saying she's alive.
Oh.
I think she is staying at the bottom of the pit. Whether or not something's happened to her since, I don't know.
Then who is in the grave?
No one. Ozen dug it up. There was no one there. There's nothing in that grave. That's why I feel like it was Rig that did that. It was more of a symbolic gesture or something, maybe. Like, what purpose it really serves in the end, I don't know. Because, I mean, if Liza was dead, I don't see what bringing her corpse up from the 7th layer would do. Like, I don't think the curse is going to affect... Yeah, it would, because Nanachi says it works off of somebody's consciousness, right? Nanachi says that the consciousness is what the abyss, like, affects. And through that, it then affects the body.
So if passed out, it won't affect you?
I don't know, because you still have your unconscious mind working, right? There are parts of your brain that are still going even if you're asleep or not awake, unconscious, what have you. If somebody's dead and there's no brain activity, however, I don't think you would be affected by the curse. So here's the thing, right? Here's my thought. And because of the technology of that's around, I assume this is possible for them. But if somebody were to somehow, induce a death-like state, if they put you to the point where you may as well be dead, like think Romeo and Juliet, where one of them takes that poison and basically leaves themselves half dead. Because of it, right?
Coma or not?
I don't know specifically what a coma does in form of brain activity. I want to say, like, if it leaves you at a point where you're basically dead. Like, for all intents and purposes, you are dead. And if you were then brought up with, like, a super fast elevator or, even if it was slower and you were just in that state longer, would you be able... Here's actually an even better version. If you were, like, think of, like, what's the one? Futurama, right? Where they froze Fry in that tube for, like, 4,000 years, right?
1,000.
1,000 years, yes. Yeah. Anyway. Think like if you put someone in that and then brought them up. They're frozen. They're not going to have any brain activity, period. I assume they would be fine so long as they stayed in that state all the way up to the top. I don't think the curse would be able to affect them. So whether it's like a poison, whether it's cryostasis, whether it's something that puts you in a near-death state that you can recover from, I think it would leave you immune to the abyss curse.
And maybe one of the White Whistles may know about that we haven't met yet? Maybe.
If anyone would, I would assume it's Bondrewd. He's the one that was specifically looking for a way to counteract the 6th level's curse. That was the whole point of Nanachi and Mitty.
Yeah, oh, poor Mitty.
And all the other children.
Oh, yeah.
Who I assume he just left at the bottom of that pit.
Yeah. And they all seem to be like the same type of deformity.
More or less. They had different colors.
Yeah.
But it seemed like the same kind of like melting of your flesh and bone. Like that kind of idea. Although if you remember, Mitty had like almost a paw, kind of like what Nanachi had. Just barely tethered to her. And it was just one. It was the same color as her, but it was there.
So you say Nanachi is female?
I think she is, but it's never explicitly said.
Yeah,
because gender is kept completely like null and void.
Yeah, I heard she does use gender neutral pronouns.
Yes, I think there's like I forget where it is, but I think one of them she uses like female at one point or another as a reference or something, or maybe that's just like maybe one of the artists or something does.
Oh, okay.
But I think it might also be mannerisms too. But I would think female. That's what I lean toward. Here's the other part too that I found interesting. Like, And I kind of touched on this when we asked, like, what the abyss was, which was, like, why are the skeletons praying? If my idea of it being, like, a monster that had, like, a cult around it, that would make sense in this case.
I can see that.
Or is this, like, an ancient version of the abyss religion that is in Orth at this point? Because as far as I know, we haven't seen skeletons praying since that first level. I don't think they've found one any further deeper, at least that we've seen, or been told about.
Okay.
It's only been on the first layer. That said, clearly at one point, the abyss was at higher, because there's that ship that we find, like, embedded into the side. Which I have no idea how that got there.
Would it be an idea to say the abyss is growing? Bouncing off your idea that it's sentient, is it slowly growing out of the town? Or either that, or the town is slowly being pulled into the abyss as the abyss is making itself a new lair.
That's an interesting idea, but nothing's been said to confirm or deny that. They've been there for 1900 years, doing the cave diving and stuff. You'd think they'd notice that things were slowly shifting. Again, 1900 years, almost 2000. There's a chance that they might have noticed it or not. I don't know. It would all depend on how subtle it would shift, but I would feel like eventually you'd start noticing, wait, this house shouldn't be this close to the abyss. That doesn't make sense.
Okay.
This question I kind of referenced already, so I'm not going to do that. I had the question of, was Rico actually stillborn, but at this point I believe that's the case.
I think they did mention that.
Yeah, flashbacks in episode 8 confirm it. She is, in fact, a dead child that was brought back to life one way or another. So here's the other thing, too, right? And this is one that I had not an interest in, but a passing thought of, right? So in all of the flashbacks we've seen of Liza, she's used the word irredeemable, right? Reg uses that word. Ozen uses that word. Obviously, there's a link between Reg and Liza in that they have had, words with each other, right?
I think
they've known each other.
Determined that.
Same thing with Ozen. So, is that word that Liza uses a lot rubbing off on Reg as it did with Ozen, apparently?
Maybe?
Now, here's where I'm starting to jump into something that might be a bit too far, right? What if Liza somehow put her consciousness into Reg? Her body can't make it up, but what if her consciousness could? Who knows what's down in that 7th layer? There could be lost technology that she used, or it could be something that Reg had built into him. Which also kind of leads to my point of Reg and what he could actually be, which, if there were ancient people that lived in the abyss, this could have, by merging their souls with machinery, they could have been able to bypass the curse.
So you're saying Reg is older than he looks?
I would say yes.
So Reg may be a 1900-year-old cyborg.
I would say older, but yes.
Huh.
For whenever those first people were in, someone had to build him.
I'm still kind of going off on the idea that he may be a cyborg rather than a full-on robot.
Mm-hmm. My thought is just like, I feel like, right, I feel like he's definitely older. I feel like the fact, like, as far as I'm concerned, I think Reg's ancient technology. I think he's from whatever age these previous Abyss dwellers lived in. He's from their time. Maybe he's a leftover. Maybe he's a leftover that was never used. Maybe he was a prototype. Maybe he wasn't perfect for what their purposes were. I don't know that until we get to 7th layer. What I'm curious about is if I'm right about Liza being inside of Reg in some way, shape, or form, consciousness, soul, what have you,
Mm-hmm.
as a way to bypass the curse and see her daughter. And obviously my previous, theory about, Liza sending Reg up and all this other stuff is completely separate from this one. It would also explain why, Reg immediately tried to protect Rico at the beginning, because if there's any chance that a mother will recognize her daughter, Liza will recognize Rico upon sight. So if she was in Reg, consciousness or, soul or what have you, I feel like that could have been a trigger. But, there's nothing really there. Again, this is utter speculation that has nothing other than just conjecture connecting the pieces.
Mm-hmm. And my idea that he is a cyborg, he does use the bathroom, he does eat, he does smell, like he can sense, he has a sense of smell. Either he's like some hyper advanced robot that actually has the senses of a human, or he is a cyborg.
It's possible. It's possible. The question, though, if he is old, and if I'm going to go along with your cyborg idea, it could be that there is something along the lines of cryostasis down there. I mean, they did build a robot. There's a chance, I would say there's a good chance that they have some way of holding someone, in time for a while. I mentioned this one. Nanachi mentions that the curse has some kind of presence at one point, which makes you wonder if there are perfect safe zones from it. Like Nanachi's, house is a very close one, I would say. Minor to the point of almost non-existent. But I'm curious if there are other safe places in there. Would there be a safe staircase to the surface somewhere?
And back to Reg for a minute with the incinerator. Does he have any time between shots? Of course, there's the 2 hours when he's passed out to recharge, but if he needed to, could he immediately fire off another incinerator shot?
Didn't he try to do that the first time when he blasted the bird? Didn't he go to do it a second time and it didn't work?
I'm not sure. But I mean, after that 2 hours has passed, and, the first thing he does is stand up, fire a shot, or is there some time, after he's passed out that he needs to? Again?
Assuming I understand the idea of he needs to recharge for that 2 hours, I would say he would be able to immediately do it.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. I assume that if it's just a case of recharging the batteries in some way, shape, or form as he's sleeping, yes, he could.
Okay.
Why he would ever have to do that, I don't know.
Do you think he will find a way around that later?
What, a way to use the incinerator and then keep going regardless of the recharge?
Yeah, either that or only have 1 hour of downtime.
It could be. For all we know, that there might be safety locks in place for him that he can't unlock himself or something, or that could unlock the more he's able to understand his body.
Because
right now there could just be safety restrictions in place until then.
Yeah, because I'm thinking more of this in a shonen type of thing where he'll be able to fight off against a giant monster with 3 incinerator blasts in a row. Just saying.
I don't think that's where this series would go. In the idea of him being able to do something like that. I feel like this is a hard limitation for him.
Okay.
There's no getting around it. However, there might be some new piece of himself that he discovers, a new weapon or something else about his body that he didn't know he had. Hell,
Okay.
I don't think he would have even realized he had the incinerator had Rico not told him that's what he did when, he first showed up. And he didn't even know he had, the grappling arms, until he actually shot it and was what's this? He literally just shot it at this ceiling at one point and pulled himself up when the leader came in looking around.
Yeah.
He didn't even realize he was able to do that. It just kind of happened.
And I think the question we're all thinking, in season 2, will they actually kiss?
I mean, there was that kiss, you know.
But that was more CPR kissing.
Whoa, come on. Now, obviously that was a kiss.
But Eureka wasn't conscious for it.
Look, it may not be a consensual kiss, but it's still a kiss. I mean, are you going to say that it's not a slap if I slap you in the face when you're unconscious?
But slapping isn't part of CPR.
Look, that doesn't change the fact that it's not what it's still what it is. Just call it what it is.
Okay, consensual kiss. Do you think there'll be a consensual kiss in season 2?
There might be.
Because I can see attraction between Rico and Reg.
I mean, Reg doesn't even know if he's a real boy, man. There's no blue fairy to grant his little wish here, alright? I don't know what he is, okay? For all we know, once he regains his memories, he's just gonna go back to beep boop robot, beep boop. Like, who knows, right? I think that does it for all of my questions. What about yours?
As I was saying to you, I was more rolling with the punches of the lore of the Abyss.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have many questions except for, like, what is Reg? Is he a cyborg? Is he a full-on robot? Was he human who got experimented on with technology from the Abyss, and he was like a normal human, not from the Abyss?
He could be a normal human that wasn't originally from the Abyss. Because I have to assume that nobody knew Bondrewd brought in all of those other orphans. Otherwise, there would have been a shit ton of problems. However, how he would have survived down there and then gotten experimented on, I don't know. He is still just, I'm going to assume, a 12-year-old, assuming he was a child at that time.
Either that, or there's like some reverse Bondrewd up around the surface who experiments on people with Abyss technology on land.
That could be.
And that's why he was so close to the surface?
I don't... Like, you say that, but that just makes me jump to the idea of that whole birthday disease. That birthday death disease that was going around.
Yeah.
That almost, like that idea is interesting, and even more so if that birthday death disease would be tied into that idea.
That
like, would it...
To prevent
like,
the
would
birthday
it be...
death disease, he gets these robot parts?
Potentially, or like... No, I doubt it, because then why would the disease keep happening, right? If this guy's looking for a way to prevent it, why would he keep going with it at that point, right? Also, why would Reg be in the Abyss? Especially at, I'm going to assume, at least the 6th, if not the 7th layer where Liza was at.
Okay, but if Reg is a robot and not some android, who made him?
Again, I'm down with, like, the last people that lived in the Abyss. That's where I'm at with this still.
Okay.
Like, I feel like he's a relic from the Abyss, from whoever used to live in there at some point, or whatever, I should say. It could even not be human at all. Like, for all we know, it's freaking fish people out of Cthulhu's tests. And they were like, let's experiment on humans. Let's go. Yeah. The humans above are like our cult people. They're going to throw us down sacrifices. Woo! And they just continue to experiment from there. Like, literally anything that we have not seen is utter speculation. We have next to nothing to go on. Like, we don't even know what's waiting on the 5th floor. Just Bondrewd and whatever the hell facility he's got.
So how long will they be on the fifth floor? Do you think, like, the majority of next season?
Oh, I would say definitely. I think definitely that's going to be a good chunk of it because they're probably going to try to not just as I feel like they're going to get captured by Bondrewd, try to escape Bondrewd, and either try to end his entire facility, or if failing that, try to escape it, and maybe potentially by accident destroy it.
In a comical fashion or not?
Either or. It could be by accident and comical at the same time.
Okay.
I mean, for all we know, Reg's just going to walk out of, the holding facilities, be like, I gotta pee, and then piss all over somebody's computer console there. Look, I don't know. I mean, there were plenty of times that Rico just pissed herself.
Oh, poor Rico.
I mean, to be fair, most of the times it's because she was in extreme pain of some sort.
Yeah.
Or delusional at one point.
Yeah. And I just love how Nanachi is so deadpan. Well, I was watching you, and you seemed like nice people, but I didn't want to get involved. Only when you were being loud. You're way too loud.
I mean, she's deadpan about it, but I mean, what was it? It was, Rico actually explained it to him right at the end, where it's like, no, that he's acting exactly the way I would. It's like, she's deadpan about it, but there's a lot more going on underneath the surface. Which is why Nanachi is my favorite character.
And after seeing her so many times in the outro, I'm like, when are we going to see this character? Who is this rabbit?
It's a cool design, too. I like it.
Yeah.
Like, she's a rabbit, but she's got, like, a sloth tail going on.
And maybe more like sloth paws, because they kind of clawed at the end.
I was going to say sloths have much larger claws for climbing.
Okay.
Like, almost hooked claws for climbing, I should say.
Oh, yeah,
whereas
Nanachi
looks like she has, like, little finger nubs.
Yeah, so she's
like
more like a sloth bit.
Sloth, yeah, like a sloth rabbit. The only difference that I could argue with is just, like, her fingers and how those work.
Yeah.
Because they literally just look like nubs. Like, I don't even know if they flex anymore at all. Or if the fur's just covering, like, longer pieces that actually do flex.
Okay, because she does have toes.
Yeah. Like, she has rabbit toes, it looks like. But her hands, again, I don't know how much of that is just, like, the fur padding that's covering up the rest of the hand. Or if it's literally just those nubs there. But, yeah, I think that does it for all my questions about the series at this point, anyway.
And except like little bits and pieces about what's this character's backstory, I think that does it with all of my questions too, for the most part.
I'm curious when we are going to get to see the rest of the White Whistles. Because I think there are, 3 more, I want to say? Or 2 more? 2 or 3 more.
I don't know.
I want to say there were 5 of them. So if we know about Bondrewd, Liza, and Ozen, that leaves 2 more that we haven't seen yet. Or at least that we haven't been introduced to, I should say. I know one of them has the Plague Doctor's mask. And I forget what the 5th one looks like.
Okay. So it has been confirmed there were only 5.
As far as Ozen says, yes. Because Ozen lists them off. I want to say it's 5. There might be 6, but I'm leaning toward 5. No more than 6.
And who was the main Black Whistle? Oh, what was his name?
Habbo?
Oh, yeah. Do you think we'll see him again, or?
I'd be curious if he gets his... Well, that's the thing, too, right? Because they say, I think it's around the 5th layer that time starts getting distorted, right? Like, what was it? Ozen said she was down there for what she thought was a couple weeks, and it ended up being months. So I'm curious, because it could very well be that Habbo gets his white whistle while they're down there in that weird time fluctuation place area. And he could come down to try and find them and help them. Who knows?
So would it be more like a time compression chamber, or do you just lose sense of time?
That's a good question, because we only have Ozen's description to go on. For all we know, it could flow in the reverse. It could very well affect everyone differently, too.
Okay, because if they're down there and it happens to be like 2 years past, either we're going to see a character design change because they'll grow up, or it's like
don't think that's going to happen.
So maybe it's more of a time compression effect that when they're down there, time flows slower?
It could be. Again, we've only got Ozen's thing to go on, so we don't know how it actually works. And that's only in reference to how the surface time was going by.
Okay.
So it could be time compression. It could be the time just straight up flows slowly, more slowly down there. Or it could be more quickly. Who knows?
But then again, if time... And I'm just getting maybe like metaphysical here, but if time would be flowing slower, you would still age at the same rate, right?
Here's the thing, right? The curse affects everyone in weird ways. It even affects the body, as we've seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, who knows what the Curse of the Abyss specifically does down there? I doubt there have been extended trips in that area, like purposely fit just to test it out. Who knows? Again, we've only got one idea to go on. It could be anything. It's weird. We have no idea.
Yeah. And hopefully answers will be revealed next season.
Hopefully. I'm curious when that's going to come out, because I would think with them having double what the first season took, they got plenty of material to work with for a second.
I did hear that we are getting the second season, so...
It's confirmed. I just don't know when.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there'll be enough for a third to come right after that or not.
Hey, when did this start?
What?
Like season 1, was that summer?
Summer of 2017.
Okay, so if we get another 13-episode season this summer, then you roll around to summer 2019 and have it like a 13 episodes every summer. Hey, we might have enough.
Well, that's the thing, though. The manga would have to have that much finished for them to follow through to that point, right?
If we only do 20 episodes, 20 chapters per season...
You'd have to do 20 chapters per year then and stay ahead of it.
Yeah, and right now, you said they're on about 50 as of this recording?
About there, yeah, but I don't know what their schedule is, whether it's weekly or... I think it's monthly, just based on how long the chapters are.
Oh.
So they'd be doing 12 a year. So yeah, to end this off, I'm very curious what people's ideas are for what is the actual Abyss. Because I want to know. I want your crazy ideas. Give me them all. I want all your crazy ideas. I want to see.
Is the Abyss sentient? Is it an alien?
Is it a Cthulhu-esque monster?
Is it a sentient alien?
I mean, I assume when you say alien, it's straight up sentient, but you know. Will Rico learn how to talk to it?
Yes.
I would also ask here, like, what does the title Made in Abyss mean? But I mean, we kind of got our answer when Ozen said, yeah, Rico got her soul in the Abyss.
How many more people will look at Reg's penis?
That could also reference Reg, too, because if Reg is a robot, he was made in the Abyss.
And I just feel bad for Reg. It's like, oh, you look human down there. People stop looking at me.
I mean, come on. Rico had that entire book and she lost it. I was so upset about that. With all the details. Actually, here, before we end this, alright, I do have one more that I just thought of. Do you think they're going to find the star compass again?
I'm... Where, though? Because...
It could be in a lower level, because all we saw was it going off down a waterfall.
But that was way up on the first layer? Second?
It did, yeah. It could be the first layer. However, we don't know how durable that is. It was, a grade 3 relic, I think, that Rico had? So we don't know how durable it is. That paper that the message was written on, the one that said come down, is a relic in and of itself, and that shit Ozen couldn't even destroy with her strength. She couldn't tear it. Who knows how durable the star compass is? They might find it later on in a deeper level somewhere.
Maybe? That would be interesting if they did.
I'm curious, because they lost it real early, and it didn't seem to serve a real purpose, other than just to point down.
Will they get more traveling companions?
They might, especially if Bondrewd's got more orphans in there. They might want to follow. Also, if you noticed, at the end, he had that entire wall full of lights that I assume were experiments. And the one he was looking at was middies that went out.
So those lights are tied to their life force?
It seems like it somehow.
Huh.
It was labeled MIDI, so I'm pretty sure it was tied to her somehow. And he had an entire wall full of them. How many of those are just the ones that were failed experiments in the 6th layer? I don't know. How many of them are still going on at the current time? I don't know.
Yeah. And how many of them are also, not that badly mutated hollows?
Yeah.
Will we get another rabbit person? Another sloth
We might.
bit, as I call it?
We might. It's honestly, I'm curious, because all I can say is this. Season 2 is going to be a lot darker, since Bondrewd's going to be a center point. And he is very much into that human experimentation.
So it might not be as cheerful.
There might not be as much lightheartedness in this next season. Even Ozen said Bondrewd is probably one of the creepiest and worst of the White Whistles.
Well then, next season on Made in the Abyss, it takes a nosedive from happy to,
I mean, it was kind of doing that at the end of the season to begin with.
Yeah. But then again, there was the fact that Greg is a very lethal chef. And
Actually, here's another thing to come up and ask, right? Do you think Rico or even Nanachi is going to get any more permanent damage?
I will... Maybe Rico will get another scar or two.
This isn't, it's not just a scar. I think without that support, she doesn't have much strength in her hand. There's a reason that Nanachi helped with creating that support system, or that support glove that she has. I think if she doesn't have that on, she doesn't have much strength in her hand. I remember, because I was looking in the manga as I was looking for references for the title card for the podcast. It was showing that part where she was grabbing onto the ladle to try to show that she was holding on to the thing, and it's using the support system, and then the next panel is just it slipping out of her hand.
Oh.
And it's so I think while she does have the use of her hand, it's just not a strong grip anymore. So which explains why the glove is there to help her be able to grip more firmly.
And I'm just saying this, maybe this will pull a Star Wars and give her a robot hand down the line when you possibly find out who built Reg?
It could be, but that would also mean she would have to lose the arm itself, or at least lose its functionality completely.
Okay.
Because I don't think she'd do it willingly.
Okay.
Not unless the arm's completely dead.
Okay.
Which, we saw crazy poisonous shit on the 4th level. It was to say it's not going to happen again.
Yep.
All right, I think that does it. I think I've extended this long enough.
Yep.
with my crazy questions.
Yep. And check us out on Twitter and Facebook and the main podcast. We also do gaming every Monday and Friday when
Come on,
I
people.
do post them. Other stuff to promote ourselves shamelessly.
You sound so nervous.
Yes.
Damn it. Like, subscribe, love us.
Love us.
Or else.
Or
I don't know what else. I don't know what else will be, but I'll figure it out sometime.
The abyss
Maybe.
will get you.
I'll throw you in the abyss. That's what's going to happen. You know what? From now on, I'm not putting you in the corner. I'm throwing you in the abyss.
No!
Good luck climbing out of that thing.
I'll be vomiting all the way out.
Look, just be happy I'm not throwing you down to the 4th level where you'll bleed everywhere.
That was too much blood. Too much blood for a little girl.
Come on, you would watch DBZ and it'd be fine.
Yeah, DBZ with that much blood, that's fine. Because she's 12, that's too much.
Oh, okay.
Age
Gotta
has
bleed
to
out
do
of
with
every.
it.
Gotta bleed out of every orifice, man.
Okay.
I mean, Bye-bye!
Bye.